Hi, Scott Orlin with CINEMA-Magazin. A new film coming your way is called Let Him Go, and I'm here with the two stars, Diane Lane and Kevin Costner. Part of the joy as an audience of watching this movie is this great road trip that you guys take. And I was wondering if you could just share, when was the last road trip that gave you joy?
Wow. I guess the California coast is always the sweet spot. I mean, they use it, they seem to use it in all the car commercials. I don't know. That was the one that gave me joy. Does that answer your question? Over to you, Kevin. What do you think?
Yeah, the last one was went from here to Colorado. Tried to point out to the kids how cool the scenery was, and they just couldn't take their nose out of their computers. And they must have just. I finally would say, "That is so beautiful out there," and their heads would just be right here. You know, that is so beautiful. And finally, I took them all away from them. So
good for you.
Speaking of joy, having known you guys for years and interviewed you, you're both so incredibly personable and affable. And your characters have that same attribute in this movie, but yet you run up against an immovable force. You run up against animosity. And I'm wondering, how do you diffuse a situation when you run up against somebody like that?
Well, I think that it's really a waste of time and energy and precious time on this planet to create enemies. Finding a meeting point is much more important. But I guess, you know, we're dealing with Leslie Manville in this movie, and when she decides that she's going to raise her children a certain way, who's to stop her? I mean, she's a very different mother than my character in the movie, and we have very different versions of how to mother. So better to leave this to fiction. In real life, I don't know, but that's my best answer. So how about you, Kevin? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, the first option that Diane pointed out is what you want to be. You want to move towards the people that make you feel good. You want to move away to the people that make you feel bad. But there's moments and times when you're up against sociopaths, and their advantage is that you think they understand your problems because their head is going up and down. And it's always the advantage that the criminal, that the sociopath will have, that they're just looking at you and none of what you're saying is getting through. They operate on a different set of rules. And because of that, you're on uneven marks, and it's a dangerous moment. And I think that was captured in Let Him Go.
And just the last question for you guys. Obviously, this is a period piece, and it kind of takes us a throwback to what we view now as a simpler time. But would you still be the same person if you lived in that simpler time? I mean, like Kevin, you were talking about your kids with computers. Have we become so acclimated to modern conveniences that maybe that isn't such a great time?
You know, simpler is we have a fondness for looking back at the 60s, and it was so violent and it was so upheaval, but you know that could be viewed as a simpler time, baseball and things like that. But you know, we saw our first president leave office, his vice president go to jail. We saw actually the first time that maybe we sent young men and women to war and there was no reason to do it. And where we had always served faithfully, everything got turned upside down. So you go to the 50s and you think simpler time, and yet people's rights, the civil rights was at a low. We were throwing dogs at people. People who had been in this country trying to make a life, trying to assimilate, and we just wouldn't allow it. So life is always hard. It just always is. And it's up to us to try to make the best of it and leave it a better place.
Whatever decade we're in. Yes, rose-tinted glasses looking backwards, right?
Well, thank you for sharing. It's really a terrific movie, incredibly emotional, and I'm going to be kinder to people after seeing it, because you don't know what they're going to do. Kevin, Diane, thank you so much, and this is Scott Orlin. Until next time.
Hey, Scott. Bye.